Tell me what it's like, this ride being National Teacher of the Year.
Well, first of all, I would definitely say that it has nothing to do with me, and it has everything to do with my students, with my colleagues back home, with the teachers who've mentored me, and most certainly it's about all of the teachers across the country. So it has been an incredible experience for me just to stretch and to grow and to learn, and I think I oftentimes liken it to being a poet laureate. In that my role is to be an observer. My role is to find the words and the language that connect the things that happen in the classroom every day to the people who are not in the classroom every day, so that we can start to have really authentic conversations.
Some of those words you used were intentionality and deliberateness. Tell me about what those words mean exactly to you.
I think that deliberateness is an incredibly important habit of mind that we need teachers to embody. When we are deliberate teachers, we're purposeful and we are not whimsical. We're not doing something just because it's fun, but we have created something that's authentic and relevant, and it's fun for kids because it's meaningful for them, because it connects to their lives, and because it challenges them. So for me, being deliberate is about kind of the precision of the practice, and that we take the time to reflect and deconstruct the work that we do in our classes so that we can recreate the good practice, and we can minimize those habits that we need to.
Okay. You mentioned that you were a fan of Dewey. Can you tell me why? What was it about Dewey that?
Well, for me, people keep talking about 21st century learning, and while I understand that this is an important concept for us, John Dewey was talking about the same notion of authentic learning. And for me, John Dewey just embodies this real purity when it comes to learning. He was never about achievement. He was about that relationship between a learner and a learner. And he didn't see this hierarchy between a teacher and a student. And he spoke to me so clearly very early on in my studies, and he speaks to me now.
In the culture that we have in education now, where it seems to be that schools are primarily measured by achievement scores, what are your thoughts on that? Is that how can we change that, or do we need to change it at all? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I certainly think that we have summative kinds of assessments that can inform the work that we do. I think the problem is that we have this incredible imbalance in terms of how we look at those summative assessments and what we do with them. So we get them and we collect them, and then we point fingers. And everybody is pointing fingers. And sometimes that work kind of precludes what I think is the most important data that we have, which is the data in front of us every single day. It's the work that a student does. It's the questions that students ask. It's how they are when they are in class. And sometimes we put so much emphasis on these finite kinds of evaluation criteria that we don't take the time to really teach teachers how to make sense of these everyday kinds of qualitative data that I think make the biggest difference in the day-to-day progress of a student.
What do you see as the biggest challenge facing teachers in education today? What do you think is the biggest challenge, the most difficult thing that we need to overcome?
Well, certainly on one level, I think our challenge is to raise the profession to a standard that allows us to have the kind of voice that we need to have in terms of policy, in terms of the support that we need in our schools all the time. I also think, though, that we need to really focus on how to close gaps And sometimes we talk about those in terms of achievement gaps, but we don't really talk about what necessitates that kind of change and what kind of support we need. So I think that teachers oftentimes are burned out and they are tired, and we need to be sure that we find ways to help them rekindle their passion. We need to be sure that we support them in the kind of ways that allows them to be the learners just as much as their students. So if we want our students to be scientists and mathematicians and artists and literary critics, not just students of math or students of science, we better treat our teachers that way first.
We at CERRA, one of our missions is to recruit young people into the teaching profession. What would you say to a young person considering teaching as a profession? Why should they consider that as a profession?
Well, first of all, I don't think that there is any other kind of work that allows you to see the difference that one life can have on another life. It's this just incredibly powerful to give someone the gift of learning, to give someone the gift of education, because that's the great liberator.
Thank you so much for your time.
Oh,
I appreciate
absolutely.
it.
Absolutely.